Wow. Hey guys, Naruto fan 1997 here. You guys know I'm a big fan of the original Death Note comic book, and so when Netflix announced their new movie, I screamed IRL.
I'm Terry Crews. I'm about to set up this trailer for the awesome movie, Death Note. Take a look.
I totally know what Death Note is. I've totally seen it before. For those who don't know, Death Note is about a book where if you write someone's name in it, they die. And that's it. There's no other rules. And so now I'm here to tell you why the Death Note movie does an amazing job adapting the original material to something that works so well as a movie. Shall we begin? Let me know what you guys think of my Ryuk impression in the comments down below. Number 1, the main character. I really like how poorly they wrote Light's character. I like how it's left up to the audience whether or not they should care. The first scene that Light is in, he's helping another student cheat on a test. Then he sees a girl who smokes and has attitude at the top of a cheerleading pyramid, so you know she's really cool. And he gets a crush on her. Then he sees some bullies pick on a dude, and in response, Light just looks really angry. But then the bullies push his crush and then he steps in. So by demonstrating his self-interest and kind of lack of morality, then we can start to sympathize. But we really can't sympathize with him until we see that his principal is out to get him, his detention teacher is mean to him, he has the whole cliche where he lives near a train that shakes his house.
Out of this here place.
He has the dead mother cliche, all within the first 5 minutes of the movie. The dead mother thing, by the way, is introduced in the least obnoxious and out of place way possible.
Some people might look at you, a kid in your situation, losing your mom the way you did.
Hey audience, feel bad for this guy. This guy right here. In summary, we learn that Light is smart, a smart aleck, bitter, and leaning towards edgy, which are the character traits of some of the best self-insert fanfictions written by a 9-year-old. Okay, there's this kid who's really smart and has Jake Paul's hair highlights, and he doesn't like bullies because bullies are mean, and the principal is really mean, and so is Mrs. Smith from detention. I hate her, but then he finds a book that can kill anyone he wants, and no one will ever know it was him. Side note, I'm also glad they chose a kind of inexperienced actor for the role. See, I remember the bad acting from the comic book. His crush is an even better character because at one point she shuts down Light because he tries to apply some common sense or whatever. In the movie, there's this internet message board that they find, and people post pictures of alleged killers and pedophiles, etc., in the hopes that Light will kill them. Light is like, well, maybe not. These could be fake. What if someone got cheated on and put up their picture on this board and said, "This man killed my family"? Like, it is the internet, which is a really just stupid point, and this girl responds with a level-headed, "Kill them all." I just find that to be a very sympathetic response. Okay, bit of a timeout. I know I'm ragging on the first 15 minutes of the movie here, especially ragging on Light Turner for being unsympathetic and unlikable, but are those traits alone necessary for a main character? Do they have to be likable, and do we have to be able to relate to them? And after thinking about it, I can't knock the movie Death Note for that alone, because it can work. Only a few other movies have done that, like American Psycho, The Wolf of Wall Street, Thank You for Smoking, even Despicable Me, the best movie of all time. The thing that makes those movies good, though, is that even though the main characters are unsympathetic, they're either compelling or charming or funny enough that we care what happens to them, even if we don't root for them. However, when your main character is unsympathetic and doesn't have charm, you can still make it work. Take The Social Network, for example. Pretty awful movie, if you ask me. From the very first scene, we learn that the main character, Mark Zuckerberg, is smart, but also a smart aleck, condescending, self-absorbed, and generally an a-hole. Remind you of anybody? He's not charming and not sympathetic, and we don't have to sympathize with him. Instead, we sympathize with the girl that reacts to him.
You're an asshole.
She kind of acts as a voice that confirms what we're already thinking, that he's unlikable and unsympathetic. It's like a sanity check for the audience. If a character does something bad, it helps for the movie to comment on that in some shape or form and point it out. Later in the movie, our sort of relatable character voice becomes this guy. He's also more of a sympathetic character, and though he isn't perfect himself, he's not as much of an a-hole as the main character. Point is, we like sympathizing with somebody, not necessarily the main character. Like Dr. Watson in Sherlock, Pawnshop in The Emperor's New Groove, Roadrunner. There's not really a character like that here. Light? Nah, he starts out poorly and then kind of becomes more justice-focused as the movie goes on, but there's a scene in the diner where it feels like his character just goes 180 degrees with his motivation and it gave me whiplash. Girl? Nah, she's like, kill them all. This guy? He's kind of sympathetic and also charming in a way because he's weird in particular, but he's a little too far on the weirdness scale to be relatable. Too much is kind of hidden about him. So who's left? Man with glasses? Willem Dafoe? Mrs. Smith? But I hate her. I can't really root for anybody, and that's at the core, I think. Can't relate to him, she's not my sanity check, and he could have been, but he's too weird. So I wasn't waiting to see what happens next. Not until the last third of the movie, I guess. For the first third of the movie, it's about Light as he becomes this voice of justice, but also kind of full of himself because he thinks of himself as a god. The second third becomes this detective movie, which was a little more interesting than the first third. It focuses more on this guy, the detective, who's trying to find out who's responsible for all the killings happening because of the book. I like Elle as a character. I thought his actor did a good job, and he's pretty interesting. It took until about the last third of the movie to get better, where the focus is shifted towards this sort of chess game between Light and Elle. I kind of wish the whole movie was this, just Light and Elle going back and forth. But even though Light isn't really a sympathetic character or 100% consistent with how he was before, it's still interesting to watch the events unfold. Some of the ideas presented in this movie are interesting, but it's still just kind of a movie that's entertaining. I mean, I didn't hate watching it, it's fine. I mean, it's the best movie that's ever been made about an anime. Go watch it, especially if you like the original Death Note musical. I give this movie a perfect 5 out of 10. Go watch The Social Network instead. What sort of crazy antics will Mark get himself into this time? Uh-oh.